Welcome back, everybody, to the Even Your Dynasty show.
We just got breaking news in.
And that's Patrick Bailey, who, listen, everybody, I'm gonna start off this by heaping praise on Patrick Bailey. And that is his defense has, a lot of the things that last season I was super hard on Patrick Bailey about. There's like a laziness in his game. There's the lack of blocking balls in the dirt. There's just a lot of little things, little nuances with the position that bug me. He leaves his hand unprotected, his throwing hand unprotected sometimes. Took a couple foul balls off it last year. Didn't try and block balls that in the dirt that were very easily blockable. And it wasn't like issues with the one knee mechanic where it was like laterally off to a side to where he just couldn't physically get over. It was like stuff right in front of him. There were a lot of things that just laziness kind of shows up on the tape. And last year he cleaned up his throwing. This year his blocking has looked so much better behind the plate. He's really turned into a well-rounded defensive catcher. So I want to start this off by just giving him credit there where it's due. But holy crap, get this guy a tennis racket. Like, he can't hit at all. It is so ugly right now with him up at the plate. They're talking about the torpedo bat like it's going to make a difference. The guy's like first percentile in whiff and K percentage in the major leagues. Last time I checked, you kind of got to make contact with the ball for the torpedo bat to do anything for you. Like, this isn't a matter of him barely missing the sweet spot. He's just not even like coming close. And yeah, he hit a double today. Whoop-de-doo. He's hitting a $161 with a 454 OPS in 890 at bats in his career. He has 15 home runs in 180 less at bats. Madison Bumgarner hitting 19. Like, he's got a Madison Bumgarner's career OPS or career average in OPS was 174 and 524 or 176 and 524. He's hitting worse than a freaking pitcher, man. Like, this is so unacceptable what he's doing at the plate. And I am not going to sit here and I have already said he's not going anywhere. Patrick Bailey is going to be the Giants starting catcher this season. He is probably going to be their starting catcher next season. The reality is there are just not better options for Buster Posey, like in the immediate, to fix this problem. But you look up and down the Giants system and it's just barren when it comes to that position. This is something that needs to be addressed. And I'm not trying to disrespect, Sam Huff. I think he's fine as a backup. That's totally fine. But there are not other viable options to even like push Patrick Bailey. And as far as I'm concerned, Patrick Bailey has had 2 years as the undisputed starting catcher with nothing in the system to push him. And he's not doing anything at the plate to give you any kind of confidence. And that is why yesterday, when I sent out the tweet to just throw a chaos grenade into Giants Twitter, even though if anybody read the follow-up tweet, they'd realize I wasn't saying, hey, go dump Bailey on the street for a bag of peanuts. The Giants have got to draft a catcher in either their first round pick, third round pick, fourth round pick. I don't care. They've got to go take a college catcher with starting upside, because it basically would just put a clock on Patrick Bailey. I would actually prefer first round. There's a few guys. Luke Stevenson has some nice potential. I would love to see them take a guy like Luke Stevenson and, basically put a 1.5 to 2.5 year clock on Patrick Bailey of, dude, you got the rest of this year, you got next year to figure it out, and possibly even the year after. But if you don't, you're going to end up being a journeyman. And, I see so many people that go, well, the defense is the only thing that matters. He's winning a Gold Glove. It doesn't matter if he hits like this. That's bull. Ricky, I knew of a couple of these guys. Ricky mentioned more, but Maldonado over in Houston, Tucker Barnhart, Roberto Perez. I think there was one more. I'm forgetting the name, but like, these are all guys that won Gold Gloves. And did they see a second contract with the team they were on? Hell no, because they can't hit at all. They're not major league hitters, so they bounce around. And that's, I've always said, what do you call a great defensive catcher that can't hit at all? One of the best backups in the league.
Yeah.
And that's what he would be if he can't figure it out. So go draft a catcher. And for anybody that's like, oh, it's not a need, blah, blah, blah. 2009, the Giants' second round pick was Tommy Joseph, who was a catcher. They took him 1 year after drafting Buster Posey 5th overall. And then they were like, all right, we've got another catcher in the system. Guy with starting potential. They went Posey, wins Rookie of the Year. He gets hurt in 2011. So they held on to Joseph because they would have been stupid to move on. And what if it was career ending for Buster? Buster comes back in 2012, plays like an MVP, and the Giants went, cool, we're good at catcher. We're going to go ahead and trade this guy for Hunter Pence. If Bailey figures it out, you just trade the guy that you drafted in the first. A couple years later, catchers retain value. It's like shortstops and center fielders. They retain value. So to me, it's not rocket science. It is the obvious move right now to put some pressure on him, kind of light a fire under him, try and get him to actually develop a little bit at that side of his game. But, that's where I'm at. I said a caveman rant. It turned into one of mine.
Ooh, bro, you got me fired up.
Yeah. So what do you think there, Dan?
Yeah, caveman rant. You guys know how I feel, man. It's like I've always been hard on Bailey because I want to see Deuce succeed because he is so gifted behind the plate as a catcher. On defense, he is so gifted. If he can just be an average hitter, he'd be one of the best players in all of baseball. The problem is that he is so far below average. He's in the bottom 3 percentile for all hitters. That's not good. And it's not a matter of luck. His expected batting average is 169. He's hitting right at where he's expected to. He comes up to the plate looking just utterly defeated before the at-bat even begins. He's not putting any contact in the ball. Yes, Jeff Young pointed out today was the hardest hit ball that he's had all season. That's great. I'm super happy you were able to hit the ball. We need this on a more consistent basis. He's an automatic out in the lineup. I mean, I was pulling some numbers, and I don't want to drop names, but a certain catcher on a different team in a game and a half, he got on base 6 times, and Patrick Bailey had gotten on base 8 times in the last 15 games combined. So, because you look at these metrics here, and it's just otherworldly. It's dumbfounding to me. I mean, what do you do, my guy? And we're not asking for bro to be Buster Posey 2.0. Nobody is going to be Buster Posey. He was a one-of-one unicorn. We're asking for growth when it comes with the bat. Patrick Bailey has been on a downhill trend ever since he entered the league. His rookie season, he hit 233 with 7 home runs and a 644 OPS. Not great, but definitely not the worst. All right. Following year, 234, about the same average, 8 home runs. Cool. 637 OPS. That took a slight dive. This season, 161 with a 454 OPS. You're going the wrong way, brother. You're trending downwards. We all know he's a great catcher. I got a lot of respect for him stepping up with his blocks. If you look at the prior years of blocking, he was average to below average. Let's take a look. Rookie season,
rookie year. Got to closer to average last season,
and now he's
well above.
Yeah, that's great. You're a well-rounded defensive catcher, and you're sharpening your tools to even be better behind the plate. That's wonderful. This day and age in baseball, you need to be able to hit somewhat to an extent. It is unsustainable for a major league lineup to even attempt to contend for a wild card spot or playoff spot, or even in the best division of all of baseball, when your 6 through 9 hitters are pretty much automatic outs. You see this downward trend that Cody's pointing out on the right-hand side. That is not going to keep you as an everyday starter in the big leagues. I'm sorry. So yes, like he pointed out, there is zero depth in the system. That's, the biggest reason why he's got it smooth sailing and not having any competition. but you have to build up your farm system. And like Ricky's been saying, like Cody's been saying, like I've been saying, you got to draft a catcher early. I want to go round one. You know, I want to go Luke Stevenson if it's up to me, or even I think Ike Irish as well. He's more of a project. Stevenson would probably be the better pick, but I want to be opposed to either or. But you have to address the catching position in your system, because if Bailey continues on this downhill trend offensively, you're going to have no choice but to pull the plug. He's not going to get a second contract, no matter how good of a defender he is. You cannot be regressing as a hitter in your age 25 season. And here's the thing that everyone pointed out over the last couple of years. They say Patrick Bailey, and he gets, fatigued after June, July. And, it's a lot of, defensive, been a catcher defensively. There's a lot of wear on the body, blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool. We've seen it for the last 2 years that Bailey's been on a downhill trend offensively after and around the All-Star break. He's on a downward trend in April, in May. And this is him feeling fresh physically and feeling at his best, and supposedly came in great shape this spring. If this is him at his best physically, what is he going to be at in the second half of the season? How much worse are we going to get? So, like Cody said, we give him our flowers, man, for, being sharp defensively and improving on some of these smaller things that he struggled with defensively. Bravo to you, man. But you cannot be getting worse while you're entering your prime years as a ball player behind the plate, or at the plate, I should say. So, yeah, you got to draft a catcher early, or you got to improve hitting, or even a combination of the both.
Yeah.
Preferably, we would love to see both. I want to see Bailey turn into a solid hitter with elite defensive skills. Cool. You're a top 15, 20 player in the game, buddy. Yeah. But you're not even a top 10 catcher with hitting metrics like this. I don't care how good you are defensively.
No. And people wanted to tell me before the year that he was better than Cal Raleigh.
You guys are smoking something.
Cal Raleigh is where it's at, man. That dude, I love that guy.
Dude's a beast.
I would have, yeah. Freaking, he's like 98th percentile defense and just hits dingers.
and you made a point earlier today. It's like, would you rather have a player that is in the 75 percentile, fielding, and 25 percentile
50? It was 100th percentile defense with 20th percentile offense, which is generous for Bailey right now, because as we've seen, his run value or whatever has been like 12th and 10th percentile, and right now it's third. So I'm being generous here, but would you rather go 100th percentile defense with 20th percentile offense, or would you rather have 75th percentile defense with 50th percentile offense? Basically a good, not great defender that is a league average hitter at that position. To me, it's not even a question.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
I don't need the greatest defender in the league at the position. Give me a really reliable, good one, and then a guy that's going to, not be a black hole in your lineup. Gives you something.
Yeah.
Now, granted, am I willing to take a little below average if he's decent? Yeah, absolutely. If you want to look at like WRC plus, which is going to measure you like relative to league average, he doesn't need to be at 100, which is considered league average. If he's playing defense like he is now, if he's 85th to 90th percentile, I'd probably just take it. Not percentile. If he's 85th to 90th 90 WRC plus, meaning he's like 10 to 15% worse than league average, I would take that. That's fine. Like that's, as you mentioned, that is going to be one of the most valuable players in the game at that point. So it's just right now, I think he has like a 23 WRC plus, meaning he's 77% worse than league average.
Yeah.
He's basically like the Aaron Judge of sucking offensively. Like where Judge is like 80% better than league average, Patrick Bailey's like 80% worse. Like I don't.
That was a perfect analogy.
I just, it's so ugly, man. But let's unshare this. And then we've got Nathan commented. Thank you, Nathan. Shout out. Patrick Bailey was a hot hitter when he first came in. Since then, he sucked offensively. Good defensive player, and that's why he's still here. and I'm gonna keep it PG, but he's not a good hitter. Let's be honest. No,
Yeah.
you're right. I mean, it's just he's ridden a hot opening month of being in the majors, and then he's struggled basically the rest of his rookie year. Then his set last season, he rode about a hot 1.5 to 2 months, and then he struggled. And it's just, I don't know what the answer is. I've said at least give up the switch hitting, get rid of the right side. Somebody pointed out he actually has a higher average in OPS from the right side, which is kind of crazy, even though in his entire career, he is like, you look at his pro career before he even got to the majors, he had like a 450 OPS against left-handed pitching as a right-handed hitter and like a 900 OPS from the left side. So I think there's just more upside track record from that side in its entirety. But I don't know what the answer is for him. He's got to just put the work in this offseason, probably.
I mean, I've been saying that for 2 off seasons, so this is just who he is. But you want to see some sort of improvements. But yeah, thanks for the 10 though, Nathan. That's how you. And yeah, Jeff, that's what we're saying. You know, if you can just bring somebody in to put some pressure on the guy, maybe that'll, get him going. But
yeah,
it's hard because he's had zero pressure for 2 years. He was guaranteed the job when Farhan drafted him, even though Bart had only been in for a couple of years and hadn't even really established himself as being the guy. I mean, he already knew he was on his way out and Bailey was on his way in, and he hasn't had any competition since. So it's the only thing I can think of. Clearly, the torpedo bat's not doing anything.
Yeah.
But
I don't know, man.
Whatever.
Yeah.
What's up, Darius, though?
Yeah, what's going on, man?
Eli Whiteside average. I can think of, dude, Whiteside's been out the game for like 13 years, and I can think of more clutch hits that he's had than Bailey. Only what I can think of is that one walk-off against Pittsburgh and the single that he had just a few weeks ago. Besides that, I can't think of much.
Yeah, he's had a few, and it's kind of funny because I'm like, he has this reputation as a super clutch hitter. And like I can think of a few. I mean, he had the Mets home run a couple of years ago. He actually had a grand slam late against the Mets last season. The walk-off against Pittsburgh, the walk-off against Texas a couple of years ago, where he as a rookie. And but it's like, you can point to the good stuff, but then I can also point to like a good dozen times where he struck out in like the 9th inning of a 1-run game looking. And I'm like, dude. Like, what are we doing? So it's just it's a double-edged sword there. But I mean, to everyone's point, like there's kind of two ways you can treat a young player. And I've always been a big advocate of like, okay, give these guys runway, kind of clear the way for them, like let them get comfortable. I think we're kind of beyond that point with Bailey, and we've reached the point of it's time to light a fire under his ass to improve, because it ain't working. And whatever they're doing, it's not working. So let's put some pressure on him. And it's like I said earlier, it's not an immediate thing. It'd be a 1.5 to 2.5 year clock, but he'd need to know, like, you're either going to turn it around or you're going to be elsewhere in a couple of years. So, and I'd imagine he wants to get a good, pretty hefty contract. And I don't think teams are going to be lining up to give this dude a 9-figure contract when he's hitting sub Mendoza.
Yeah, and I mean, as you kind of touched on earlier, if you're a defensive only catcher, you're being signed for that backup catching job. Like, you're not getting elite Cal Raleigh money. No. Like, you just aren't. So that's how it's been in the league forever. So yeah, you got to do something. And like Cody mentioned, this isn't us saying, oh, bench him now, play Huff every day, trade him, DFA him, blah, blah. Like, no, obviously he's got some sort of value because
he's the best option they have.
Yeah, and he's the best option. But you got to start looking ahead.
Yeah.
And you can't have him being an automatic out in the lineup every day. So if that means getting Sam Huff and one more start per week, just because his bat has that much more potential, then by all means, you got to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, even defensively speaking, yesterday with Huff, I mean, he's not a great defensive catcher by any means. He nailed a runner that was attempting to steal. He caught the first shutout of the season. So
hasn't he thrown more runners out this season than Bailey?
I think Ricky pulled a stat, and Huff's thrown at 7, and Bailey's thrown at 9. And this is
granted they run on Huff more. Like Bailey has a rep,
but still, he's absolutely competent as a catcher.
Yeah,
like you mentioned, he's not a great blocker by any means, but he clearly has an arm.
He's a bit Bart-esque back there. Now, granted, Bart has turned himself into a great blocker. He's actually like 80 something percentile blocking. Like he's actually a great blocker, but he's not like the greatest pop time. He doesn't have the greatest. Now, Bart has a absolute cannon for an arm. He doesn't have a great pop time, but he throws it on a line and pretty accurately. Huff has a great arm. Again, not great pop time. That's where Bailey shines, is he just gets it out of his glove quick, and he's actually pretty accurate for the most part.
Got bailed out by Willie, I will say.
Yeah, he did get bailed out yesterday.
But he's got a super quick release, and that's what he's best known for. So
he gives his guys a chance. Like even with a slow pitching, a notoriously slow, mound to home pitching staff, he gives his guys a chance most of the time, and that's all you can ask for. Yeah. And the funny one I hear from people is that, Buster loves Patrick. He's never going to move on from him. And I'm like, are we sure? Like, because it doesn't really behoove Buster to go out there and bag on the dude that's a starting catcher and be like, oh, I'm not committed to this guy. And he's not good, when there weren't better options or someone else, an alternative option in there. I think his actions are going to speak a lot higher about how he feels about Bailey currently if he goes out and drafts a first round catcher, and everyone's gonna be like, oh. So